Okay, so this video is going to be on how to find the volume of a shape. All right, so when we're talking about the volume here, we're going to be talking about with three-dimensional shapes. Okay, shapes that have depth to them. So that is, when you're holding a cube or you're holding a rectangular prism or a triangular prism, this is how we find the volume. Okay, so I'm going to look over here, and when we're talking about volume, there's going to be a basic formula that you're going to have to remember. All right, so the volume is when we find the area of the base and we multiply that by the height. So I'm going to show you on the next slide. I'll show you a model, but we have to remember it's base, it's the area of the base times the height. And you'll see right here, to find the area of the base, you have to do length times width. And when you find out what length times width is, you're then going to multiply that by the height, all right? Because a two-dimensional shape is not going to have any height to it. It's going to be a flat shape. And that's when you're finding the area of a square, you're going to do length times width. When you're finding the area of a rectangle, you do length times width. But now when you find a three-dimensional shape, there's going to be height to it, which gives your shape depth. So let's turn the slide, and here. All right, so here we have a cube, all right? And you'll see that in the bottom, this is your base. You'll see that square that I'm circling right there in the bottom. That is a square. So the area of your base is a square. So we have to do length times width. So I'm going to put over here, I know we said before it's the volume equals the area of the base times the height. So really what you're doing is volume equals length times width times the height. L times W times H. Those of you that had me in third grade, because once again, this is a skill that we have started back in third grade. And I know I always try to come up with those, fun ways to remember volume or remember any kind of formula. So I always said volume is just think of Larry with Harry, right? So Larry with Harry is length times width times height, L times W times H, right? So, I guess I could write, I will, length, width, and then height. All right. So now I'm going to label the dimensions of my cube here. So let's say we have the length, which is going to be 4 inches. All right, I'll circle that. Our width is going to be 3 inches, and the height, I'll put right here, will be 5 inches. Actually, I'm going to put that a little higher, right? I'll erase that. That's height. All right. I'll make sure I use the same color. So there's height. And now we said the height was 5 inches. Okay. So now we have all the dimensions labeled. I'll rewrite the formula right down here. So we have volume equals length times width times the height. Length was 5, so I'm going to do 5 times the width. Nope. The length was not. I apologize. The length was 4 inches times the width, which was 3 inches, times the height, which was 5. So we're doing 4 times 3 times 5. Now, if we're finding the area of the base, we know length times width, 4 times 3 will give us 12. All right. I'm going to move my picture over here. 4 times 3 is 12. And then we're going to multiply that by 5. And 12 times 5 gives you 60. But now, when we are talking volume, the units have to be cubic. Okay, so it has to be cubic units. So if here we're talking inches, we're going to be inches with the little 3 as an exponent. That is the cubic. That lets you know right here that it is cubic inches. All right, so that is how you would find the volume of this cube. So that will be that quick video. All right, just to sum it up, when you're finding the volume, it's length times width times height. Now, here we just gave you a diagram, just gave you a model, and we labeled it. If this was written in a word problem, which we will go over, it's going to be written in words. We have a swimming pool, which is in the shape of a rectangular prism. And it's going to be the exact same steps that we just did, except in words, they're going to say the length of the swimming pool was, let's say here, instead of inches, it's feet. The length of the swimming pool, it's a small swimming pool, was 4 feet long. The width was 3 feet wide. And the height, which would be the height from the bottom of the pool to the top, I guess we're talking more of a jacuzzi than a pool, which would be 5 feet. So that's where you want to take what you learned right here and saying, oh, they're finding the volume. Well, they said the length was 4 feet, the width was 3 feet, and the height was 5 feet. And you have to say, well, I remember the formula for volume is length times width times height. And it's all about applying what you've learned here. And when you're reading the word problem and marking it up, that you could take that information and plug it into this formula. All right. But we can't solve a word problem until you understand this formula and how to solve it when given a diagram. So that was that video on finding volume.